So I think there's some connectivity issues from Shilpa's side. So I think you can start with the session.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, I thank
Yes.
so Harry as the first person to call me to take the session. I thank Harry as well as Ankita for being in touch with for the hospitality that you are shown. I'm very happy that I am able to address Government Engineering College Kannur, especially the student branch here. So first of all, I say that be safe and don't let the learning stop. So here, as you know, that I'm here to give a general awareness of ham radio. So before that, I will just quickly introduce myself. So who am I? Okay. So I hope it's visible for you all. If you're not able to see or if you have any queries, you just please halt me and proceed. So first of all, I'm a ham operator with call sign VU3FIY. My place is Pattam, Trivandrum. So I'm an assistant professor in EC department of UKF College. I'm CT of QA Labs, especially in electronics department in QS Lab. And presently, I'm the SLDP coordinator of IEEE Gala section, as well as I'm the Academy Working Group coordinator of IEEE Gala section. And you and as well as mentor of change of Attil Tinkering Labs, especially for the schools. So here, today we are here for the SAM radio session, especially for the IEEE SP students. So here, what I want to do is, I want to know how this session will be going like. So what I will do is that I will quickly cover what are the things or briefly give the overall idea what I will be covering and what you will be gaining at the end of the day. So first, I just will talk about ham radio, or we can call this as an amateur radio. So it's if you hear amateur radio or ham radio, it's the same thing. So next one is that we will see about the frequency band that we are going to use for the radio frequency communication used in amateur radio. So next one is that we will see the basic communication thing that we are going to do. The basic structure that a typical ham radio block operates. So then how we can be a ham, so that is a very important. So if you want to know how you can have a particular call sign and communicate in the ham frequency. So next one is that ham as a hobby, how you can excavate that as well. Then finally, it's up to you. It's like being a ham operator is nothing theoretical. It's entirely homebrewing and practical. So we can see antennas with the help of satellite tracking as well. So I hope the audience are from first year to final years, I believe. So according to the participants, I can talk detail about the satellite tracking as well while we are considering antennas. And finally, we will see about the equipments. And with the equipments, we will have some a little bit hands-on session from your mobile phone as well. So I believe this session will encourage you to be a ham operator like me and all in the world. I hope it's clear what we are going to discuss here today. So next thing is first, let's see. I would like the moderator to coordinate or anyone can answer the question either in chat and the moderator can have some sort of interactive session. So have you seen this picture somewhere? You can just type it and the moderator can just send the text to voice to me because I am not able to see the chat now. Do anyone have the answer for that? This one? Have you seen this somewhere? Or this one? I believe you need some motivation because no person is there at the operating station, right? So let me have this one as well. So have you seen this one? I hope this will give away what this is actually is. Any answer yet in the chats?
Yeah, we have got answers like radio station, FM radio stations, etc.
Yeah, sure. So it's radio stations. That is exactly right answer. So the person sitting there will be RJ, right? Radio jockey. So the amateur radio actually, in a provisional way, we can call that as a the radio jockey, where they play songs and they have dedication, etc. So the principle is also same, but they have scaled up their transmitter antennas to transmit at a very high power. So they can each and every receiver can receive it. So it's scaled up version of amateur radio, but the principle all are the same, I guess. So just two more questions. So have you seen this? It may be a short version of that, as well as this. Any answers? I hear a notification sound when I showed the first picture. It's moderator. Any answers till yet?
Yeah, we've got answers like Morse code radio and Morse.
Oh, okay, sure. So second one is the Morse key, and the first one is, we can call that as a base, especially the amateur base kit, which operates in HF frequency. So it's nice. So next one is the Morse key, where you send dots and dashes to communicate from one point to another. So these are the first communication means that we had here. So now we can straight away go to the amateur radio. So you all have been waiting for what actual amateur radio is. So I have two type of definitions. The first one is, I would say, is not of a informal one. You can see this image as well. So we can say that it's a main hobby that we follow, especially the communication engineers. It's actually quite a service as well. The main beauty of this is that it's bring people and all electronics and communication together. So I will say how they work. So because you have that type of IEEE spirit, right? So similarly, we have a ham spirit. So it can also use to connect the world, or all the world, even the space, use amateur radio frequencies. Recently, I hope you have seen an image of ISS widely spreading viral, I guess. So they also communicate. As being an ham operator, we have a particular software installed on our phone. We can call that as a ISS detector. You can just download that app and you can see the international space stations, and you can even maybe communicate to them as well as the astronauts. It's actually quite good. So this is the basic thing. I hope the amateur radio is basically clear to you, the informal definition. So now I will we'll have a formal definition of that one. So the last one is actually the application point of view, which everyone should interest stream, especially during floods and all. The amateur operators were the one who were acting as a key point of communication to the government. So next one is actually an official definition. So I hope you know radio frequency spectrum. So being an engineering students, actually I've made easy for you. So since I can't see you properly, I can ask questions right away. So if you see radio spectrum, first we need to analyze what is actually radio frequency, right? So I have a small definition for you as well. That radio frequency spectrum that you all know. It operates from 20 kilohertz to 30 kilohertz. I hope that's a radio frequency spectrum is clear. So the main purpose of this one is of amateur radio is, the first is actually important, is the non-commercial exchange of messages. But if you see Red FM or any FM stations, actually they are not commercial, because they are commercial, because they broadcast ads. So they need to. It's actually, we can't classify them as amateur radio. So it's entirely different. Anyway, the principle used from them is all the same. Since they being commercial, we can't call this as amateur radio. So another one is, we can say that is that it's all experimentation. If you have already a student of electronics and communication, you must have learned a lot of theories, but you might not done some practical application regarding the communication part. So when you are into amateur radio, what you will love to do is that you experiment with communicating with one person to another person. And the beauty of that one is, you communicate one person, maybe he may be in Sri Lanka, another person may be in Italy. So that's the beauty of it. You use a low power for transmission, and you don't need a big transmitter, but you can have a small transmitter which is kept at a very large height. So and it's a self-learning process. I will just go from, it's actually your recreation activity, like a hobby, like stamp collection or coin collection. And it's also a sport. We have different type of contests that is happening in around the world, where we communicate the number of people. So here, how we award people is that when we open an amateur contest, we will see each person, like me or any other ham operators, they try to connect with all other ham operators over the world, and who has the maximum number of contacts, or the QSL is a term that is used in amateur radio, so I will cover that as well. So it's emergency communications as well. I hope you have seen this picture, right? So it's a policeman that always communicates with a walkie-talkie in even the Hollywood films and all. And even the policemen in India, they used to talk in walkie-talkie, especially traffic police. So all these communication, basic communication system is actually, we can call that amateur radio communication. So mostly in police, they don't need to have a call sign, but what they do is that they will allocate a particular number of handset to a particular officers. But if the officers has a call sign, he has a mostly high chance of getting a walkie. So I hope you have seen this in movies. I hope I have taken from the movie so that you can refresh your memories. So like in IEEE, we have amateur radio in regions, but IEEE is very vast. So we have 1 to 10. So here only there is 3 regions. So we have region 1, region 2, and region 3. I hope we are in region. I'm not able to see any chat messages. So I didn't see any notification sound as well. So we are in region C, region 3. I hope if you can see more, my mouse, it's here in India. So we come in region 3. So next thing is the important thing is that you should know, since you are communicating with the whole world, you need to know the time zone as well as your name should be known to the whole world to communicate with all these regions. So if you are here in India, if you are trying to communicate in Australia, we don't share the equal time zones. So if I am here and if I am in Gulf, there is a time zone difference of 2.5 hours. So if I call a person here by like say a Gulf person is calling my friend in India. So let's say he is calling by 10:30. So there is a time difference is actually 2.5 hours difference. So in India it should be the midnight. So most probably the people here will be sleeping, right? So we need to know the time regions zones properly. So there are 3 regions mainly. The amateur radio, they operate and they communicate only in UTC, that is universal time. So universal time is constant. So that is a basic requirement. So you already know about 2 time zones, that is GMT and IST, Indian Standard Time and GMT, and we are in GMT plus 5:30, right? So in UTC, it's a universal time that we follow. So when you are having a communication contact with another person from Italy, what you will do is you can maintain a logbook where you can write in IST, but it's always recommended to follow the UST time zone context. So you can just type in Google and see UTC time now, and you can see the difference. So it's actually quite good. So the time zone is important. So even then, if you are hosting a IEEE event internationally, you need to know the time zones, right? So that is important of that. So let me talk about the call sign. So this VU23 FIY is my call sign. It's my name overall the world. So no one in the world has this VU3 FIY. So you may wonder, like I've been talking to you like VU3 FIY. So we can split these into 3. The first, I will say that VU3, I will take it separately. So this first 2 alphabets give you the country code. The country code. This VU is for India. So we have different country code for different regions, regions or in countries. So 3 is actually, we can call this as a license type. We can have 2 and you can have 3. If you are having 2, that means you have a general license, and if you have 3, you have a restricted license. The main difference is that in order to get a general license, you need to be very fluent in MOSCI, and you need to send transmission data with at least 8 words per minute. So like dots and dashes. I hope you have seen the photo of mosque. So the license type here I'm having, as you know, this is a restricted license where I can transmit a lesser transmitter power. If I had a general license, I could have transmitted with a higher power. So next one is actually it's my unique code FIY. So you must have heard people saying, or even in your school days or in college, if you are sitting in exam hall and you have a lot of objective questions like A, B, and C, D. So usually there is a confusion between B and D, right? So whether it's B or D, and naturally the teacher or the invigilator picks you up and makes you stand up or something like that. So it's always better to have code for each so that we don't say, so like we say what is A for apple, B for boy, like that. So here we follow a strict particular mnemonics pattern. So F we call this foxtrot, I for India, Y for Yankee. So these are the basic things. I hope I can show you some of the mnemonics. So this is mnemonics that we follow. So I hope you in the movies you have seen if a plane crashes, they say Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Victor uniform number 3 Tango Sierra Juliet Kilo calling. Anyone on the frequency? Like you must have heard this in a lot of English movies when a plane is going to crash. So these are the basic communication protocols that they follow in amateur communication as well. Then another thing is that each and every aeroplane, they have a particular radio frequency that operates on amateur radio. So each aeroplane, we have seen few quite numbers, and they will say, so they, if my name is there, if I take anyone's name, like if I say take Anna, ANA as Anna, so I will call her as Alpha November Alpha. You there, like that. So that's clear. So when you say that it's a XYZ, we say X-ray Yankee Zulu. So this is the main thing that we used to communicate. I hope it's clear. And another thing is that you should know is that we have another set of codes called Q codes. So you should learn these things. So you won't say in the radio like, who are you, where are you, like that. So we have set of Q codes pattern. So these are the basic things. So if I don't know who is calling, so I will just say QRZ. QRZ, you can just say, you can just QRZ. So if someone is saying like that. So I will just say how we properly communicate with the amateur radio. So it's like it goes like this format: CQ, CQ, CQ. This is Victor uniform number 3, Foxtrot India Yankee. Anyone in the frequency, copy. This is the first dialogue I used to pump in with while pressing the PTT button in your or in our the handy that VZR uses. So I will repeat, it's a CQ, CQ, CQ. It's been calling generally. That is the meaning of CQ, CQ, CQ. And if I say the next one is that this is meaning I'm saying who am I? That Victor uniform number 3, Foxtrot India Yankee. So this is a call sign I use. So only the ham operators with a valid license will have a call sign, and you can only transmit in amateur radio band if you have a call sign. But if you are interested being a ham operator, you can always get a equipment from the licensed operator, or with the licensed ham operator, you can procure the instrument required, but you are not able to transmit. You should not transmit, but you can listen. Then those people, we call them as SWLs. I will repeat, SWLs. If I say the mnemonics, Sierra, Whiskey, and Lima. SWLs. It's a short wave listeners. So you listen to all the communication. And there is a wonderful movie where we have action hero Biju, right? So there, naturally, the walkie-talkie obviously gets stolen away, and you can hear a lot of sound like Cobra. So this Cobra, like this, that what I want to share is Papa Oscar. I mean, police officers. We call them as Papa Oscars. So they have different hierarchy like DGP, SI. So they have different code words. Like, so if you say for minister, it's a Victor. So if minister's vehicle is going, so they will call that is a Victor. So if it's a commissioner, we have a Cobra, like that. So the different type of terminology that we use. So these are the basic things. So another thing is that if we are able to maintain a communication with a person from another country or from an island, what we will do is we will share cards. now we have e-cards. E-cards meaning EQSL cards. So you can see QSL here, where it means that it is received and understood. So what we'll have is we'll have QSL cards wherein which it confirms that you have connected with one person and they have acknowledged that. So what they will do is they will send a card like this. In olden days, what they will do is they will post this card and we will receive it. And for contesting of amateur radio in the web or in amateur net, what we will do is how many QSL cards that you have obtained. That is a mandate for deciding a winner of the contest. So another card may be like this. So you can see both. The first person is actually from Indonesia and the second person is from the United Arab Emirates. So they have a different set of their country code, their restricted license, and their unique code as well. The first three one is always the country code, and the last one is last two or three. Initially in India, since the amateur radio operators are very low, we needed only 2 letters. But now since amateur radio are slowly picking up, we need 3 letters to map that. So maybe when you apply after maybe 5 years or 2 years, maybe we need to have 4 letters for a call sign. So that may be happening. So next one, I will just go to the frequency band that is used. So if you need to skip any topic, just you can have. So these are the basic idea of radio frequency spectrum I initially told, where current element or a voltage element is being resonated or being cycled per each frequency or cycles. So if you see to the left one, to the right one, we have VLF, and to the extreme HF. So the below one that is mentioned is actually that wavelength, or you have already learned of the crest and trough. So combining the crest and trough, what is the distance between each point, the crest distance or the trough distance, so that is a wavelength. So here what we are going to use is we are mainly focusing on these three, the HF, VHF and UHF. So if you are using HF, it's high frequency, you need to have a base kit where you can even communicate with different countries. So country communication happens in HF, whereas local communication happens in VHF and UHF. So naturally, when you are seeing even the police communication, maybe that may be closed loop, they will be using VHF, or even the AM operators that is being located in a locality, they will be having a VHF. All the base antennas or we have. So another example I would like to quote is that if you are organizing a international event like International Film Festival, so naturally there need to be a constant connection between the backstage and the technical console, like which song we have to play and when we can play. So these lot of communication. So we can't rely on our mobile phone. So we have to rely on only the shortwave handsets that we use. So we can call that amateur radio. Even in malls, big malls, even the parking lot, people will have this kind of small radio with them for natural communication, because it's quite very efficient, because you can just press a button and you can talk it, and after that you will release it. So it's like a simplex. You must have known the simplex duplex connection, where duplex is where it's your phone where you both can talk simultaneously, but in amateur radio only one can talk and another can listen. So when you are going to talk, you need to just say that you are going to talk, and we are going to end the call. You will have the particular format. So let's say I'm going to call another call person, like let me say OSV. So OSV is a friend of mine, he's Abhijit. Okay, so I will just say, okay, CQ, this is Victor Uniform number 3 Foxtrot India Yankee, Victor Uniform number 3 Oscar Sarah Victor, do copy. So I told my name first and second that name first. And if that person, if let's say that particular person, like OSV, like VU3 OSV, it's a Victor Uniform number 3 Oscar Sarah Victor, if he is going to receive it, if we have heard it, then how we will respond is that this is Victor Uniform number 3 Oscar Sarah Victor U3. So first what they will do is that first, who is the 2 person? So who is coming from? So 2 person. So I am calling Abhijit. So he is having a call sign VU3 Oscar Sarah Victor. So what we will communicate is that first I will talk about him. So it's like VU3 OSV or VU3 V uniform Victor uniform number 3 Oscar Sada Victor. So he is a person. So what he will do is that he will call my name first. So the Abhijit person, the other person, what he will do is he will call name first. So VU3 Foxtrot India Yankee. This is VU3 Oscar Sada Victor. Copy. So what you have anything for me, just say. So after that, the ending line will be, this is VU3 Oxford Sarah Victor, over to you, VU3 Foxtrot India Yankee. So this is a natural way of communication. So the best way to learn these things is to be a SW and listen all the communication that is happening, because we have a lot of code of ethics that should be followed, like IEEE, like code of ethics, we have a AM code of ethics. So I hope this frequency range is clear. So next we can quickly go away or see through what is the basically communication that is happening. So these two inside the handheld remote. Okay, there was a slight disturbance. Okay, there's a remote handheld device where what you will do is you will just press the button here. I hope you can see a small button here. It will press it. It will transmit to the repeater here, and it will transmit to the another person. So this means that this handy, maybe we can say that if for the simplicity's sake, if I say it's 100 kilometers, say it's 100 kilometers apart, and this is 100 kilometers apart. So totally they are apart for 20 kilometers. So they can communicate point-to-point communication through a repeater without any payment, because it's free communication. So the main mandate is that the person who is calling and the person who is receiving should have a handheld remote, and they should tune into the particular frequency. That is very important. So another thing is that how this communication happens. So especially in amateur radio, it's always best to call at night, because during night there won't be any solar phase, and your ionosphere will be very good for reflecting radio signals. You might have seen that radio waves of lower wavelength, they tend to bend to the curve. So what happens is that it transmits to the ionosphere, it reflects and gets back to the current location. So let's say like we have a corona control center here. So we need to transfer all the information from the district medical officer from each medical colleges to the panchayat or the collectorate control center at the COVID control center. So let's say that this is a control center. So what they will do is that they will transmit it, transmit information will hit the ionosphere, and it will go to the maybe the affected area, maybe where the outbreak has just happened, or it may be a general hospital where the COVID patients are being treated, or data is being generated. So what they will communicate through here. So this is a basic HF antenna set. So they will receive that the communication happens like this. So this communication may happen. So one-to-point communication where this affected regions can be scaled up. Like for example, if it's in Trivandrum, it's a long way. So or it's in Kollam. So if it's been covered all other way, so you can communication range is quite maximum. So this basic communication that already happened while in KF, the Kerala floods, where our phones, we are not able to charge our phones, as well as a diesel generator has ran off diesel, so that there is no tower to power, there was no power for the tower to operate. So naturally what happens is that phone network died. So literally we are out of communication. So during that time, if you have a handset, you had that charge there, it can last up to 3 to 4 days, and we can just easily connect to the base station. So that is the beauty of it. The operation power of that particular radio repeater is also low. So it's a very effective point of communication since you are using a low power communication system. So this is a basic handheld device. It can both operate in VHF and UHF. Commonly uses VHF, which it's around 144 megahertz. This is around 440 megahertz plus. So power can be up to 5 watts or more. I have an answer which have 8 watts. Naturally, when you're comparing with your phone, it is not safe to transmit more than 1 watts of power in your phone. So basically, if you are purchasing or procuring the older China set that we used to call the duplicate sets, they used to power like more than 1 watts. So what is the advantage of that is that if you are using a China phone, or you may tend to have some sort of headache but you will have a good reception of the signal because you are transmitting at a very good power, but you are sacrificing your health. So the Indian base, we have a TRAI regulation system, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, where this regulates it. So without the repeater, you can just communicate even 10 kilometers. Now I'm traveling and I'm now in Kasaragod. I have the handy now with me. I'm able to communicate to the Mangalore section from here, Kasaragod. It's nearly 48 kilometers apart. Since I'm been staying over the quite good altitude, I'm able to cover a long distance without any hindrance. So that is the beauty of it. You can even cover 48 kilometers. It's good. And if any person who is an ham operator can receive the signal and can communicate. So it's the beauty of communication. So this is a base station transistor that if you are kept at home, you should keep it this way so that you can communicate to the longer range. So the next one is that you let me know like what are the years or what are the departments that they are attending here, which all departments are here, years as well as departments.
Yeah, we have right from first year to fourth year here.
Okay.
From I think all the departments, including all the departments, electronics and electrical, computer science, mechanical.
Okay.
Everyone's here.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm not going in depth with electronics. So most of the electronics, especially third years, they have already learned the subject AWP, and that brings back a lot of memories, I guess. But the beauty of is when you are learning or when you are experimenting with ham operators or when you are home brewing each antennas, you will learn the beauty of communication. It's very quite easy. If you see this, you already heard, might have heard now at least the dipole. Dipole means there are two poles, one point here and one point here. So if you observe this picture here, you can see the similar kind of T structure here. So what I will do is it's an antenna. So similarly, I have used a cable line. So what I will do is that in the home or in the area where you are going to use this antenna, I will keep this and I will straighten this cable to this side. So I have around maybe 20 meter here. So similarly, this also I will put this and straight side. So now I have 20 plus 20, we have 40 meter, right? So for antenna with 40 meter only, we can operate in HF frequencies. So you need to have this big antenna. So for antenna, it's not mandatory that it's actually a quite thick rod. It can be it's actually a radiating element. So radiating element meaning it can be this electronic signal or the current transmits or to the signal and it radiates in radio frequency or in electromagnetic waves. So here in this, if you keep it, so you are 20 meter here and 20 meter here. It's a similar that of concept, but here it's mentioned as a low dipole antenna for your reference. So if you are going to transmit or if you need an antenna to communicate to the different country, you can have a basic dipole antenna where you can have the structure with 20 meter here and 20 meter here. So totally you have 40 meter cable. So you can have this HF antenna. Anyway, I'll just go in detail with how an antenna works and all. So with that, to the note, let's say this is the antenna here. So I have kept that 20 meter cable here and the 20 meter cable here with a small download inclination so that it will be a small V like that. I hope you can see this wire. So this is a small inverted V. So this inverted V will be used for communication. So if you lack space for communication, you can have an X beam antenna as well. So I will show you the picture. So with this antenna, you can connect to the set, the base set, which can either operate in HF, VHF, or UHF. So then you need to operate this, you need to have a power source, right? So either you can have a battery. So what we have just made is that you had a cable right now. It's very easy to carry. And now you already had a portable HF base and you have a car battery. So what this means that if you put all this in your car and wherever you go, you can have a directly install a communication system, right? So you need to know the basics of antenna, a base and a power source of a car battery. So anywhere you go, if you don't have your mobile phones or if you're lost at forest, you can use this basic system to have a basic communication. So it's actually, we can say this is survival kit. So how it naturally happens when you have a repeater. So here you can have a mobile device. It's going with a car. It's car long way. Here's a person at the different hill, and here's a base. So what is that? This person can directly connect to the base because he can see the base with a line of sight. So meaning there is no hindrance. So he can directly communicate. But here, if you see that this car can't directly communicate with the base because of the geographical point, because there is a hill. So what we do is that we install repeaters at a very high point so that it can grab any signal. Suppose if this person, I need to communicate the person over there, which is hindrance by this hill. So if this person can communicate this repeater, and he can communicate with the other person over there. Similarly, this mobile unit can communicate to the base through the repeaters. So what indirectly we do is that we increase the range of this mobile device. That's happens. Especially it's for UHF and VHF. So this is a repeater. So let me just quickly explain. So if we are using the same frequency for the up connection, the down connection, let's say that this is a base and this is a base. These two are fixed points, and these fixed 2 points can't communicate directly because there is a hill here. I hope my mouse is visible so that you can know where I'm pointing at. So if not, kindly let me know. So if this point and this point need to communicate, we can't do that because of this hill. So what we'll do is we install a repeater. So what it shows it as, blue lines show the communication from this side, red lines show communication from this side. So blue is communicating. So it's if you say if the data is going up, we can call this upload, right? And if the data is coming down, we can call this a download. Similarly, since we are talking about the communication, we say with the link name. So we can call this as uplink, and this can be called as downlink. So when uplink is transmission of the data, and the downlink is a reception of the data. So if you are transmitting, the other person should receive, right? So I told you the red is for this, blue is for this. So I am transmitting it, and I am receiving it. This person is receiving it. If you note, there is a small change in frequency for both the blue ones and the red ones. So why is that? The repeater is a device which identifies a frequency, but it can't transmit the same frequency. It's because if it's transmitting the same frequency, it's transmitting all around it. So if this frequency and this frequency both are same, there will be naturally interference, right? So we can't talk because the crosstalk happens. So naturally, when we are transmitting at a particular frequency, definitely we have to receive at the different frequency. What the repeater will do is that we call that as a standard shift or negative shift. So naturally we do is that 600.6 megahertz or 600 kilohertz is the deviation that we use in standard repeaters. So when I press this button, it will be 14600. When I release the handy button, it will be like 146.67. So if you decrease this value 146.67, naturally when the handy set is in idle state, it will always tune into this frequency. So I told it's a standard shift, that meaning it's a negative shift. So when you are pressing a button, what happens is you add a minus 600 megahertz to it, minus 600 kilohertz or minus 0.6 megahertz. So when you do that, you will get 146.06. I hope that's clear. So this is a basic principle of how a VHF works. If yes, then okay. Otherwise, if you have any furthers, we can always take up to the Q&A session at the end of the day. So next important thing, how to be a ham. So let's see. I believe all of you are about all right. So that is a prerequisite for you to write an exam. So exam is Amateur Stations Operator Certificate Examination. So we can call that ASOC exam. So you can write that examination, and you may think that, oh, it's very difficult for me. No, it's actually very simple. You have already learned basics of electrical and electronic, especially for the first years now. I believe it's both electrical and electronics, both are the same. So either if you are not the first years, the previous K2 batch, you have already learned basic electronics engineering. So that's enough for your basic thing. So you need to apply that exam with the syllabus mainly covers with the basic electronics, like what is resistor, what is transistor, what is inductor, or how capacitor works, like that basic things. So then you need to apply through the wireless monitoring station. This comes under Ministry of the Telecommunication. Okay, it's Government of India. So the license issued by is the Government of India. So it naturally takes time. For me, it took nearly 1.5 years to get the license. After passing my exam, ASOC exam, it took 1.5 years to get me a license. So till then, I was operating as SWR or shortwave listener. So next is, I already told there are two gates, restricted and general, the medium power and high power. General, what you should do is that you need to have the knowledge of Morse code, the transmission and the reception. The speed of it is minimum is 8 words per minute. So since being the government, it's very, exam is only 100 rupees, but you are taking license, you can pay 1,000 or 2,000. So it's always better to pay 2,000 because it's for lifetime. Okay, I hope this is clear. Then another thing is that if you are a ham operator or if you know the basic of amateur radio communication, what are the things or benefits you can have? Literally you can talk to other hams in any part of the world. That's the beauty of it. Like IEEE, if you are a ham, you can have networking with other hams, and you can have a local community that is talking to each other, which operates in VHF and UHF. And if you want to talk to the globe, you need to have HF. Another thing is that, as always, networking, friendship. And the beauty of it, I told earlier, is that you are transmitting at a very low power. So you don't need a high power transmission, unlike your cellular phones. Another thing is that if you don't have the kit, don't worry. You have a lot of application in mobile phones where you can talk. The software is AmpShare. So at the end of this session, I will share my mobile screen and I will have a must apps in your phone when you can do research or whatever you want in especially hams. So hamsphere is a one application where if you have a valid call sign, you can just talk to the whole world through internet. So another thing is that amateur TV, like IEEE TV, we have amateur TV which transmit at, I hope you have seen Doordarshan channels using Yagi antennas in olden days where we had only DD1 and DD2. So that is amateur TV using Yagi antennas. This is a beauty of slow scan TV. I hope you have all seen Tatatan Marayat movie where we use stencils as a piece of encryption process. Similarly, if you want to send an image to one person to another person, you can always use to have a slow scan TV. So I hope since with this session, I hope you will have the knowledge of the slow scan TV so that if you want, we can have some contests with other SB as well. So we are planning as a communication society. I was the secretary of communication society for past 2 years, last year. So we have been planning to have a orientation session for a few SBs where we will train them for slow scan TV and we can have a competition as well. That's actually quite fun. And another thing is that we have contests and awards by being ham, how many people you connect. Another thing is that another beauty is that you learn your electronics or communication part by making transmitters and receivers. So that's another part of it. So another thing is that always a volunteering. I forgot to keep a photo. By seeing this, I thought of sharing my volunteer. I have been part of Trivandrum district emergency operating service for the ham operators. So we've been part of the Ponkala where we communicated with the control station for the medical help. And other than that, we have just completed now is that COVID control cell that we have already used. So we like IEEE, this is also an volunteering experience where you are mainly playing the pivot role for communication. So another thing is that we have seen a lot of treasure hunts, right? But the treasure hunt we call here is actually fox hunt, where we find the unknown hidden transmitters. So we scan the whole band and we find it. This is another game that we used to play. Another final one is that this is the one I'm going to talk at the end of the day, where you can use your satellite to communicate worldwide. So that's the beauty of it. Using walkie-talkie, you can communicate. So I will show or I will explain that as well. So here I just quickly have a like IEEE code of ethics. We have IEEE here. We have a Mr. code of ethics. We all follow all these things in worldwide. I think it's self-explanatory. And we will quickly see the equipments that we have. For HF, we can see the basic rule. For VHF and UHF, you have a handy. You can use a handy, and HF, we need to have a base. And for antenna should be kept at the home. So the basic equipments. So these are the handset we have. So this is a Biofunk series model, and this is a model I have. This is the Biofunk UV8W, where 8 is a power of watts. This is an advanced version where in which what you should, the cost of this is around, I have procured this item for 5,000. This is 12,000. This 12,000, the beauty of this amateur radio is that you have all seen collarless mics, right? So collarless mics operates in radio frequency. So this radio frequency can be tuned using this amateur radio, and what we can do is that you can listen to the collar mic sound using this amateur radio. So that's the beauty of it. Another thing is that you can even have a latest touch display where your phone is being converted to the amateur radio. This is what I talked about, digital amateur radio. This base equipments you can have. This is a set of worth 22,000. This is also a set worth 16,000, where you can keep it in car as well. So you must have seen police car with this kind of facilities, right? Based it. And another thing is that if I talked about antenna, this is a basic Yagi antenna that is being connected to the basic handset to increase the range and directivity and gain of the antenna. So if you use a 20 meter, that means 40 meter cable, if you are not able to have the inverted shape, I told that you can use as a S beam. If you see X beam, there is no connection between this point and this point, because this is a point of communication. So what we have done is we have used the 20 meter cable this side, and we have made as like a spider web. Similarly, we have made a spider web. So this is the end point and this is the end point. These two are the points, X beam. Yagi antenna is a common antenna that we used earlier for getting the TV, especially Doordarshan. So we call that as amateur TV. So here, at the end of the day of the session, in your having Q&A, I will show my handy. I use a normal rubber ducky antenna. It's a small one. It's actually tactical antenna which covers a long distance. Okay, so these are the basic equipments. I will show the website where you can, when you are into amateur radio, you can see all these equipments in detail when you are familiarized, so and so. This will be a lot of things. So these are the connectors that we have. You can have these are the two cables where the RG213 is actually the quite good cable where it offers less noise. If time permits, we can see satellite tracking very quickly. I believe it's 6:55. I lost track of time. So this satellite tracking, if you do that, is a basic thing, the ground station system where this is a satellite and you track it with a helix antenna. It will use a software different radio kit. It will connect it to the computer. This is a basic structure of it. And I will show you the kit here. So you need to have a computer. You need to have a SDR dongle, where SDR is software different radio dongle, where you can convert the signals from this antenna to the computer. So you can see that. So this is the antenna that I used, cordial helix antenna. So it's a cordial helix antenna here. So I'm not going to detail. It's an antenna type. So you can, if you want, you can take a screenshot of this one, and you can go over to this website where they have beautifully explained how you can make this antenna out of PVC pipe and the earthing wire. You must have known, when you are installing earthing in your home, you will require 12 SC gauge wires. So with that, how you can make an antenna, it's actually quite easy. You may find it maybe difficult initially when you are learning theoretically how antenna works, but when you are building one, you will see that it's very quite easy and industry. So these are the dimensions that you need to go or to build an antenna. It should be proper. This is another type of antenna. This is a V dipole antenna. So I hope it can see you. And this is a crossed Yagi antenna. You can see Yagi antenna, but it's crossed as well. So this is a V. I'm not going to the detail as we are short of time. So these are the connections. So the site I've recommended here, there you can have a lot of things. So if you need to have a software tracking of the satellites, what you can do is that you can have ST Sharp. You can take a screenshot of this one, or you can just these are the software required for your computer to download it. So you need to have ST Sharp. That is a software. You can get a WSMean software for decoding the data from the satellite. So naturally, I told that it's SSTV, so it's slow scan TV. So the satellite, when it moves over the surface, it transmits a signal. When you decode that particular signal, it's actually audio file. The audio file is that a picture is being transmitted in audio format. So that audio need to be decoded to get the image. So that is what we do in transmission of a slow scan TV. So slow scan TV is actually, you need to secretly send a file, but you can send an audio file. So audio file, if the other person knows that it's a SSTV encoded file, what he can use is he can use SSTV decoder application to decode that audio file to get an image. Suddenly, if someone sends an audio file and the other person, third party person, try to attempt and listen to that, it will be full noise. It will be high pitched noise. No one will be hear it. But if you use that audio file and if you go give it to the SSTV encoder, definitely you can hear or you can see the image what you're tracking. So the another thing is that you can use website apps, and after the end of the day, I will use that. So you can just note these three web pages where the first one is actually you can track the ISS space satellite. This is somewhat, it looks like the images. So it's quite pretty. You know that space is being trashed with a lot of satellites. So, but there are still some satellites, amateur radio satellites, is quite operational. So if you see that this is a satellite path, it travels like this. So when it comes here, you can have a connection with the satellite. This is how it happens. So this side, if this is a day, this is night. This is how it happens. Orbitron is another software where you can help you to track a satellite. You need to, these are the satellites. I hope you are familiar with INSAT satellite. It's a 3A version. So NOVA satellite is a satellite that is used for weather decoding. So suppose if you all love, or we all love to take selfies, right? So if you need to have a selfie of India, what is better way to get a good images is that instead of going to Google Maps, what you can do is that you can track this NOAA satellite and you can get that audio file and you can download and you can convert to get a very good quality of a selfie of India. So that's you can solve. So we can call that the low Earth orbiting satellites are selfie satellites. I used to call that. So another apps is Events Above and ISS. If time permits, I will show the apps I use for as an amateur radio hobbyist. So these are the applications. This is Events Above. This is ISS detector. Another thing is that the software, I told that ST hash or sharp is a software used to decode the NOVA satellite. So this is a signal that you get, and this is the maximum value, and this is a signal transmission range. In some movies, you might have seen that. So this is actually, I told you, this is actually visible image. It's actually quite black and white. You can have an IR image, which gives that color map of that one. So I hope I nearly finished. So these are the sites if you want to refer or look for that the space satellite thing, as well as another thing is island on the air, because there are a lot of small islands present, but there are amateur radio operators over there. So it's better to communicate to them. It's another session for that. So thank you all. So I hope I have finished at the right time. So if time permits, I can show you the apps I use in my mobile phones. So you can always try that. So over to the moderator. So waiting for that.
So now, if anyone got any doubts, you could ask them up in the chat box. I think we could spare some more time for the doubt clearing session in case anyone is having some doubts.
Okay.
Do put them up in the chat box.
can we go for, we have exhausted our time, or can we spare a little more? Or I
Yeah,
can show
sure.
you, or I can show you the apps I use in mobile phone as well. So if it's okay for you all.
It would be great, I think. Just it would be great.
Okay. So what I'll do is that I will join. Okay, let me see. I hope you can see my screen. So these are the
Yes,
apps I
sir.
use. So these are the apps I use for my amateur hobbies. The first one I would recommend is that if you have a license and you need to, you don't have the equipments. So what I prefer is that you can use a Hamsphere app. So I'm not going to type it because so this app here. So this is my call sign. So you can log in and you can have that. I think I have expired my version there. You can have a trial over there. It's a virtual amateur radio operator, Hamsphere. This is app here. And another thing is that I told you about events above. So let's see, like this is a events above app. So it's downloading the data. So if I see me, you need to see the live sky. So this is a live sky. So what I can see now is in here you can all see the constellations here. If I keep over the north, I hope I'm keeping it over the north. So now I can see is that a OA03 rocket is going, right? Can you see it's moving? You can see a slight movement in, right? So it's being updated live. So if you click that, you can see extra information about its above time, below time, 10%. So I will try to have a radio satellites. I will check for radio satellites. So these are the radio satellites I have. So what you can use it, Nova satellite is the one that we can use it for weather monitoring. So there what you need to do is that if you want to communicate it, you need to have both the downlink frequency as well as the uplink frequencies. So if you see that you have only the downlink frequency, that shows that this Nova satellite has been decommissioned and you can use that particular satellite. So you can just check for all the satellites. In Oscar is there. Here also this uplink, you can see the uplink is dot. That means that this satellite is also being decommissioned. It's being just moving, revolving around the net or all over the world, but you can use that. You can just check for all the satellites. Meteor is another satellite for weather communication. If you check here, you have a downlink, but you don't have the uplink. So you just see this and you can have a brief just, and even if you need to, oh, you already know that SRM has launched the site, right? So if you see that this satellite is transmitted or being launched by the SRM University in Chennai. So if you see that you can, I have selected the satellite, but since it's not in the range, I am not able to see it in the big picture here. So but here I can get the information, like its time is 2030 over the time. So if you see that the rise time is 2027, that means that nearly 8:30, 20 is 8, right? Yes, 8:30 it will rise. In I can see that it's like sunrise and about 10%. What you should look for is that you should always see the 2030 that above 10% and below 10%. Only then you can just say like since your vision is like 180, you can say from left you decrease 10 and from right you decrease 10. So you have instead of 180 you have 160 degree. So like decreasing the 10% and increasing the 10%. So the time you should notice that you can see the satellite from where you are from 2030 to 2041. So hardly you have 10 minutes. So with that information you can have is that you have an uplink and the downlink, where these uplink and the downlink, since you can able to see that it's well and operational. So you can just set your uplink and downlink frequency there. So this is how you can use this radio satellite. It's quite useful for AM operator. And here also you can see that ISS. ISS is an International Space Station. It's actually the biggest station. So if you are at clear sky, you can see that. So you can see that the next pass is 28th. Here it's there. Friday is there. So what I do is I don't use this application to use it. I use ISS spacelight. ISS there. Okay. Another thing is that you know my call sign, right? So if someone knows a particular call sign, how you are able to find out that particular person? Like in IEEE, you are an IEEE member, so you have an IEEE ID. So if how will you know that this IEEE ID is valid? So you have a V2 section where you can go and you can authenticate your IEEE ID where it's a valid membership or not. Similarly, you can use QR result where if I hear a new person, so since I am being here in Kasargod, I'm just checking what are the repeater stations available here. So that's the, so you have already seen what's repeater, right? So if I type U3FIY, this is my call sign. If you can see, okay, it's me, Shankar Jairaj. It's Trivandrum. So if you want to know my location or if you want to view it on website, that QR is website, you can just click it and you can just say, okay, it's me. So it says that it's a login is required. So you can just say the basic requirements here. The additional logins is required. So you can just say this information can be viewed in net as well. So these are the basic things if you know the amateur radio set. And another thing is that you can have this Morse translator where you can type your name, like you already seen that value. So here if I say it's Shankar, if I need to transmit in Morse, so it's like it's SS 3 dots, right? So what I can do is that this is actually my Shankar's Morse name. So what I can do is that if I need to communicate it, and if you can send a rabbit sign, it's actually 12 words per minute. I can reduce it to 8 with the speed of 8, and I can adjust the frequency maybe a little bit. This sounds good, I guess. So if I say Shankar, so what I do transmit in Moses. So since I'm really connected here, I'm not able to hear. Okay, what you can do is that you can try this, and with the net you can do that because my output is being used. I can't play that one. Okay, so this is another thing. So next one is another thing is that the repeater book, that it's very quite handy for a ham operator, where when you are traveling anywhere you can see what are the repeater stations here. So what I've done is I've select the repeater book with 100 kilometers. So the near repeater that I have is, I told you earlier that it's nearly 45 kilometers away. So I'm able to get to this repeater. It's actually, it's not 48, it's 56 kilometers. I'm able to connect to the repeater and able to talk. But one person has just replied it. I couldn't get the call sign. Okay, so these are the things. So it's quite interesting when you are in ham and when you are doing actual communication. So this is a AM toolkit. If you are an electronics student, you will learn and actually appreciate what actually antenna is with all this coordination calculation. You have already, if an electronic student is there, what is, you know, what is dB, what is high pass filter, low pass filter. You can all design all these things with the help of amateur radio toolkit. So there's the beauty of having apps to enable you learn. So these are the basic things. I'm cutting it short, and I told you about SSTV, about slow scan TV, where you have an encoder here, and this is an image. If you select a particular image and you add that particular image and you click the play, you can see a sound, right? Can you hear? Sorry for that. Okay, so this is another thing where you can use SSTV encoder, and Robo 360 is another app. What you have already seen this app, right? This SSTV encoder, what it will do is that it will convert your images to the sound. But the Robo 360, what it does is that it will pick this sound and it will convert to the image. So what you can see is that you can slowly see each line is being scanned with the voice that is behind it. So if you have seen that or hear that sound, if you keep the sound nearby, you can see the image that is being displayed here. So that is a decoding, like instances in that movie that you are encrypted, so you can just for decrypting. So it's really quite good to have fun with. So these are the basic things like I would like to share. So I'm open for any questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. We have got a question here actually. So Mridul has asked, where and how can I learn all this to become an operator, to become a ham operator?
Okay, where? Okay, so I have shown you a link in the end. I hope you have taken a screenshot. So the basic thing is that you all have Google, right? So you can just take and search Google. We have NIAR, National Institute of Amateur Radio. So that's actually quite good site maintained by India amateur radio people. So you can just go over there and you can learn what are the basic things required, what I have covered here today. All the basic things can be seen over there. So I hope this section has given you a basic idea of how an amateur operator or what is amateur radio. But if you want to learn more, you can refer site like NIAR. So you can just type NIAR in Google and you will get the link. I hope I have answered your question.
So with that, I hope we don't have any more questions now.
Oh, it's really? Okay.
So yeah, so I think we'll wind up the session now.
Okay, sure.
So,
anyway, sorry for extending it for 40 minutes, 15 minutes.
No, that was okay. This is actually planned for this much time only. So,
Okay.
First of all, I would like to thank Shankar Jairaj sir on behalf of IEEE Student Branch, Government College of Engineering, Kannur, for accepting our invitation and handling this session so wonderfully, giving us an introduction to all of this. And it was a great experience for all those curious heads out there. And again, I thank everyone who have joined us and been with us throughout this session. Thank you once again.